So session 2, marine tourism and ecology. New tourism product development in Cyprus with an emphasis on sea-based tourism. Cyprus as a cruise hub. Exposure of the maritime activities in the occupied areas and ships and shipping in Cyprus during World War II. Are there any issues, questions, comments about what was presented there? Yes?
I just wanted to ask a bit about the cruise hub. When I first went to Cyprus, I went in steerage, I think it was, but it was actually a cruise. Set up from Marseille and went to Limassol via Egypt and Piraeus and Genoa and all sorts of other places. And I just wondered how much people could use. I mean, I can't think of anything worse than going on a cruise. I don't know about anybody else. I just can't stand the idea. I'd rather go to the House of Commons. But do people actually travel like that still? Are they allowed? Well, you know, just because you can't take that much on an aeroplane.
So you mean cruising? With a cruise?
So just to get from one place to another, I went from, it was the cheapest way to get to Cyprus to take loads of luggage, because I was going to live there.
Well,
that wasn't a cruise.
that wasn't a cruise.
That wasn't a cruise.
No, it was a cruise ship.
No,
but
but
we went on.
you did not take a cruise.
No,
That's not a
I
cruise.
wouldn't ever take a cruise, ever in my life. I'm asking whether you could go like we did. Because there were lots of students.
I wouldn't assume that you would be allowed to do that on a cruise ship. You can do it on a ferry or on a ship that's geared towards carrying cargo. Sort of cruise, sort of semi-ferry situation, but I don't think we have those anymore.
They send it in a container. You can ship it out in a container separate.
I know, but it was a much better way of going from one country to another since going by boat. And I just think why they don't do it.
Yeah, no, I think you're using the word cruise wrongly. A cruise is not to get from place A to B. A cruise is to enjoy yourself.
Cruise.
Excuse me. You get from A to B while you enjoy the travel. Okay?
Yes.
You got from A to B your decision to do the movement from A to B had to do with money. With the cruise, that's not the decision. You choose it cruise because you want to enjoy yourself on a ship and you want to visit countries. So you got from A to B, and as Harry said, it's ferry boats. You can find those kind of ships in Greece where you get from Athens to the various islands, and you can go by sitting on deck or something like this. And it's a cheap way from getting from A to B. It's not a cruise.
Okay, it was when I went on Marseille.
Could have been, I mean, but it's not customary to be called a cruise. And so these days, cruise ships won't carry you, for example, from Genoa to Larnaca or Limassol for that matter, with a lot of luggage. For that, you can ship, put everything in a container ship and go by air.
I think I might be able to help to clarify. I took the Queen Mary from Southampton to New York in December. So I tried to get from here to there on this liner, but after it left passengers in New York and before it picked people up at Southampton, it was basically a cruise ship. It was going on to the Caribbean, stopping, the pleasure of the people, and then would deliver them back to New York. So a certain amount of overlap. Would you not agree?
The Queen Mary is one of the few ships that will do transatlantic crossing for people that don't want to fly mostly.
Right.
And that's why it has a very high cruising speed as well, around 24, 26 knots, which is not customary.
But it wasn't a cheap truck.
No, certainly not.
So it wasn't made.
It was very cheap. What did you say?
It was not cheap, I said.
It was cheap. It was £500 for 7 days at sea, and included a flight back on one of the major airlines, United, I think. So it was much less expensive than staying
And
home.
flying, yeah. I stand corrected. I stand corrected.
See me after for my sources of...
Yeah.
Okay, any more issues from session 2? Yes, Ruth. tourism. Okay, let's come to the last session. Packed full of interesting presentations. Yes.
One comment I'd like to make from the last presentation by Mr. Paul. I think a very important matter for security of maritime security really, I think there's a high probability for acts of violence between states, rather between states and transnational acts like terrorists. And if we look into the history of energy conflict in the last decades or so, I think there is much more, there's a great danger of any oil fields or platforms, etc., to be attacked and destroyed or hampered in a way by other states rather than by actually by terrorism. I mean, there are many examples of this, like the Russians coming back natural gas over the Ukraine and destroying it, or Saddam Hussein destroying the fields of Kuwait as they were leaving, or an attack, a threat of attack from Saddam Hussein through Kuwait to Saudi Arabia, which forced a number of American military bases to be established in Saudi Arabia. So I was wondering if you have any comments on this kind of security.
Yeah, that really what you're talking about there is a whole different level above the sort of security I'm talking about, and criminal acts. You're talking about state actions now, which in another word is war. And if you're dealing with war, then that you've gone to another level, and the whole ball game, it changes. It's not dealing with the security at the level that I'm talking about. That's talking about.
Yeah, I know, but I was wondering if you have any comments. I mean, another thing which is very fascinating is cyber terrorism, and regarding oil fields, and which is very important to control the pressure of transmitting, of transporting the oil, the gas, and everything works very high technological level. There's a lot of cyber terrorism going on, which actually is attributed to states rather than individuals. So I was wondering if you have any comments on that as well.
Oh yeah, no, that is quite, that is quite possible, but that's, I would call that state-sponsored terrorism.
Yeah.
And again, what you've got to do, you've got to have the security in place to stop that, because that would be small groups of people. You're not talking about large groups of warships coming in or armies coming in, whatever. You're talking about, again, small cells, which is terrorism. And I go back to what I said earlier, you've got to establish the proper security infrastructure in the maritime environment to be able to prevent that from happening. And deterrence is a very big part of that. And if you've got good deterrence, it goes a long way towards preventing that sort of thing from happening.
I think you were next, and then I'll...
Yes, thank you. You answered me. I'd like to ask Mr. Androni, who I hope I don't sound too naive or I missed some information delivered in your presentation. In the term that you say certain firms acquire petrol to do work, what's in it for them and what's in it for Cyprus? If you can
answer that now? Yes. I mean, the agreement that has been reached, the so-called profit sharing contract or profit sharing agreement. So the company which acquires the rights to explore has 3 years to perform drilling or any other, and determine whether they will go ahead with exploration of the further exploration and development of the reserves, if the reserves are viable. So all the costs are down to the company. The Republic of Cyprus doesn't bear any of the costs until the exploitation, the development and exploitation of the gas reserves begins. And then, as I indicated, they subtract the costs incurred to that stage, and then from the sales, they share, I think, 70 to 30%. I don't know, they haven't announced the precise ratio in which they share the profits, but I believe it's 70-30%.
Okay.
So this is the incentive. I mean, the Republic of Cyprus and many other countries do not have the resources to go and spend this kind of money. So far, Noble has spent $75 million. And it's something that is happening in many countries, not just Cyprus.
Yes, I understand. I just missed, I think you mentioned it in this.
And there is, at the beginning, there is the so-called signature bonus as well. So the Republic of Cyprus got 25%, 25 million from Total and 150 million from the from E&I co-gas for 3 of the fields. Yeah.
Yes, I have to say I found Dr. Ahmed's, because I've never heard you present before, and I'm jumping backwards. I found it very interesting because I learned a lot of things about how sea-based activities can create a variety of opportunities for work. Actually, that was one point I wanted to raise. And the other is back to Mr. Neal's presentation, is that he actually found a way for a common ground to have the communities cooperate with you on the issues of safety, and I found that very interesting. So I mean, to counter the revenue, because we're always talking about the revenue we generate from a certain activity, but at the same time you have to think about how much employment is generated and what is the risk and how you cover the security part of it. And I think that's very interesting. So I wanted to ask you one question. If you look at Cyprus, for example, compared to places like Crete that are exposed in the Mediterranean, or Corsica, or I don't know, Sicily or something like that, do you find that policing in Cyprus for human trafficking, for example, is it more important to compare to them, or is it equally important? Have you done any statistics to compare the various areas of the Mediterranean?
No, I think Cyprus is far more important than those other areas. In the geographic location of Cyprus, you are sat right in that corner.
Because of this risk.
And you are in a buffer zone between Africa, Asia, and Europe. You've got 3 continents surrounding Cyprus with all the different difficulties that presents. If you come further west, Sicily has a problem, yes, with illegal migrants coming up from the south, but they've only got one area. In Cyprus, you've got it coming at you from 3 different directions, and because of that location, it does make it far more challenging to police the waters around Cyprus than it probably would to police the waters around Sicily or Crete. Also, the Italians have got a very big coast guard compared to the much smaller coast guard for Cyprus. And Sicily's not that much bigger than Cyprus. And Crete, and it's much more heavily populated, yeah. And Crete, again, they've got the Greek Navy to give them that bit more protection. So I think Cyprus is a unique case for all sorts of reasons, but not least that you are a buffer between three continents.
My name is Johanna Urich, and I'm from Alaska, and I've been there for 40-some years. And I've seen a lot of the impact of the oil and gas development up there. I really, really caution people to think that this kind of economic development is going to have a long-term economic benefit for your country. We've actually been doing studies, and I've been invited to be part of fairly think tank kind of organizations within Alaska to look at what the real legacy of that has been. And we really operate still like a third world country in the United States. A lot of money comes in and a lot of money goes out. Very little stays running around the state generating real wealth by working and staying and making more. I think that when people in Cyprus look at this development and look at what you want to do, it is not enough to say jobs need to go to Cyprus. You really need to look at what is going to happen to that money and how to keep it working within your community for as long as possible.
Yeah, on that, the government of Cyprus, the previous government, I hope the new government as well, are trying to establish the so-called hydrocarbons fund. So all the revenue from the reserves of gas at the moment, they should not be spent to for the economy, for the budget deficit, as it has happened in the UK. I mean, the UK has nothing to show for that. It was pumping it back into the budget to sustain the economy. Norway, of course, is a brilliant example. They have something like 900 billion pounds, whatever their krona, in their fund for the future generations. And this is what should happen in Cyprus. But I'm afraid we are in a very difficult financial situation at the moment, and I don't think that will happen anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, very recently, I think it was in December when we got the bonus, you mentioned money of 175 million euros. Do you know where they went? Because the big question was, why did the opposition not say anything about the Christopher's government signing the agreements there and then just before the elections? And then when you looked into it, you found out that the government really needed the money because they needed to pay all the public sector employees. So 175 million euros, bonus signatures for the plots we've given out, were just like that, vanished into thin air. No investment into the economy. So we already made a mistake.
Just one question there, and then we'll go on to the plenary.
Yeah, got a question from Mr. Hall. There's a controversy stemming from the inland land provisions regarding the waters lying off the coast of the SPAs. What kind of powers do the SPA's authorities exercise within those waters? Because according to the Treaty of Re-establishment of the Republic, there's a 3-mile seabelt.
Yeah, actually, I know what you're saying here, yeah. Republic of Cyprus claims 12 nautical miles as their territorial waters. Under the Treaty of Establishment, the sovereign base areas only claim 3 nautical miles for their... So there's this huge, sort of, instantly at 3 miles off of the coast of Akrotiri, it becomes international waters. So it's not Cypriot waters and it's not SBA waters, it's actually international waters. So the law of the sea would apply there rather than anything that's laid down in the Treaty of Establishment.
Yeah, I'm asking about those 3 nautical miles. What kind of authority, powers?
Oh, well, within those 3 nautical miles, then the sovereign base administration have the powers to deal with anybody who's committing crimes in that area, and that's what sovereign base areas marine unit used to do. We used to go out and stop people committing crimes in those areas. But again, we work very closely with the Astronomia and their maritime units. And of course, they would go out to 12 miles. But actually, a lot of the stuff we used to do wasn't really so much bad crime stuff. A lot of the stuff we used to do was search and rescue. And we didn't really mind. You don't care what the limit on the waters is there. You go where people are in distress to rescue them. But the answer to your question is, within the 3-mile limit, we have the same statutory powers legally as the Republic authorities have in their 12-mile territorial waters.
So you've got full-fledged sovereignty over the water?
Yes, under the Treaty Establishment.
What about the seabed? Have we got the right to exploit the seabed within the 3 miles?
Within the 3 miles. That was something that was under discussion when I was there, and I think, to be honest, no, I don't think the SBA would do that. I think if there was going to be exploitation of the seabed within the 3 nautical miles, it would be done in conjunction with the Republic.
Yeah.
As I think what Kyriakis said earlier is that we really do need to revisit the Treaty of Establishment. We really do need to look at how we can help each other and work together a bit more in the future, because RAF Akrotiri and IS Nikolaos at the other end are certainly not going to go away. The SBAs may actually disappear, but those contaminants, because of the strategic importance of them, are going to stay there. And in fact, it'd be very difficult as well for us to give the sovereign base areas back to the Cypriots at the moment, because we are, under the Treaty of Establishment, we're meant to give them back in pristine condition as they were. And you know the example of the area, one of the small areas just outside Limassol, the name escapes me at the moment. It's sat there idle for years because all the buildings are full of asbestos, and the Sovereign Base Area Administration Authority don't have the money to demolish these houses and get rid of the asbestos. Berengaria, thank you. To be able to hand it back to the Republic. We'd love to hand it back to the Republic. The same at the other end, at Decalia. They were talking, while I was in Cyprus, about giving back a huge swathe of the eastern sovereign base to the Republic, but it all became too difficult again because of these issues of cleaning everything up. Not only that, the sovereign base areas, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a big advocate for the sovereign base areas here, but it's a point of fact, the sovereign base areas employs a huge number of Cypriot people, and if the sovereign base areas went away, then to a certain extent there would be a loss of that labour force. So I think, yeah, from the neo-colonialists to the non-neo-colonialists, I think that we're absolutely right. We should be revisiting that treaty of establishment. We should be looking at working closely together. And I think with the LNG fields coming up, then, you know, we've got a Royal Navy, we've got some big warships, but if we were to be able to get on side with Cyprus, then perhaps there is, you would have some help there. Sorry, I've been banging on far too much, but...
Okay, is there one final issue you would like to raise?
Yes, I just wanted to follow up on that, if I may. Can I just ask, is there any representative here from one of the ministries of Nicosia?
Yeah.
Well, that's my point. Is there anybody here from any of the political parties in Cyprus?
We not defended to invite people. I think we let the politicians in Cyprus to talk to each other, and we can spare ourselves from them. But I'm very optimistic. That, you know, some of the messages from this conference will go to this, and that's because we are doing this quietly, effectively, following a good discussion. I think there's a really good exchange of ideas, not only to. I'm closing down actually now because you are desperate.
Yes, okay. Hand over.
I say I'm not only thanking the excellent the people who gave the excellent presentations today, but also themselves for participating in the discussion and developing new ideas. And so I'm very optimistic that a good message will go to Cyprus. Now, as far as departments, this conference has been done in collaboration with the Political Commission. We have the agenda, of course we have the truth here. We are going to have in the next session, the next conference, later on this evening, a representative of the High Commission again. It's difficult, that people have a lot of in their hands. On the other side, if I say, you have Harry here, representing a major Cypriot organization, which is of paramount importance to the reactivation of Cyprus and solving the economic problems. And secondly, we have very interesting thoughts. I'm just pointing just on this side, I can point everywhere, of ideas about the geopolitics and the path that is occupied. And thank you very much for being with us, and those who are staying at 7 o'clock for the next meeting of the Cyprus Center. I look forward to see you later on. All I suggest, because you have to organize the room and freshen it up, I would appreciate if you take a walk or use the garden of the university time. Coffees, I don't think are served right now outside, but there are lots of coffee shops all over the world, and we will welcome everybody again at 7 for the next meeting.
So we're not having a general discussion.
We have finished.
I'm Elizabeth Blanc.
Yes, Elizabeth deserves to be given.
I just want to say one thing. I'm a writer on renewable energy, so I guess I have to congratulate the island of Cyprus Republic for finding what I call fossil fuels, what you call hydrocarbons. But as a member of the EU, Cyprus did have to submit a renewable energy plan, as you know, and your minister talked about renewables in one paragraph, in this magazine. I do know that wave energy is being looked at in your special economic zone, and I do think that some other islands in the world are thinking in terms of being an all-green island, and I believe that Cyprus, if it developed enough solar thermal, solar PV, and electrified its cars or used hydrogen, it could export the gas and be a green island. I would have liked for there to be enough time to discuss, problem of climate change. Thank you for this opportunity to say something.
Thank you. I mean, personally, I'm aware of the main project. But